Hello again, it's Crew Call here on the Motor Racing Network, taking you into the garage and talking to the folks that make the race cars go around the racetracks. We are so glad that you have joined us. I'm Steve Post, pit road reporter for Motor Racing Network, joined by 25-time and championship-winning crew chief Todd Gordon. Hello, Todd. How are you?
I'm fabulous.
Well, I know you're fabulous.
I got to go to the racetrack last weekend to the best racetrack we have on the circuit. And it delivered all weekend. The racing and the truck race, the Xfinity race, the Cup race, exceptional.
We live in a hype machine in this society. This is not just NASCAR. We live in a hype machine in this society, and sometimes the expectations are set at a level where it's like, we're not going to even do them. Homestead, Miami, the expectation levels were set at a level, and we blew it out of the water.
Yes. Yeah, that was exactly the point I was going to make. I think ahead of time, it's my favorite racetrack because you race all over the racetrack. On pit road, strategies, race cars. Heck, you couldn't block. I mean, you can't block because you can run from the white line on the bottom to the wall and anywhere in between. You find speed. It's just phenomenal racetrack. We saw comers and goers. I'm going to go back to the Xfinity race. Sheldon Creed started in the front row, and I'm up there in the broadcast booth, and he's backed his way outside of the top 10.
Yeah.
I'm like, they missed it. No, they didn't. Their car came back to him. He drove back to, I think, a third place finish in stage one. The comers and goers within a fuel run, within a tire run, it's not a fuel run. It's incredible to watch. Cars that have speed early fall off, cars that don't but come forward, and you've got places to go. What a phenomenal race.
Phenomenal race weekend, phenomenal race track. You and I had this conversation, and I'm gonna embellish upon this right now. Television does a great job covering this sport. MRN radio, we do a great job covering this sport. All the reporters do a great job covering this sport. Collectively, we cannot paint the picture of everything that is happening at Homestead Miami Speedway.
No, and there's racetracks we can go to that we've got to go find the race, right? The TV's got to go find the race and find something to talk about. We chose to broadcast one of 7 races that was going on all day long for position. It was so hard to sit up there in the booth, and we flip-flopped at times because there'd be a heck of a race for the lead, and then, wait a minute, they're 3 wide for 7th. Wait a minute, they're 4 wide for 4th. Like, it's just, you had to jump around. You can't absorb everything that goes on at a racetrack like Miami Homestead by TV, because you only get to see singular. Yeah. You don't get to see the whole thing, and your driver might be involved in a heck of a battle. It just might not be the battle that's for the lead or the battle that's 3 wide. It still might be a side-by-side battle. Yeah. Phenomenal in person.
Yeah, you just have to. That is a place where you have to go in person.
Yes.
You just are not. If you don't go in person, and again, we all do a great job covering this sport, but there's so much happening, we can't cover it all.
You can't cover it all. This racetrack has so much on it, you can't cover it all. Oh, and by the way, it's right there at the base of the Keys, the Florida Keys, and it's got a race in late March.
Yeah,
like if you live in the Northeast, get your trailer out and go down there and camp for a week. It's
a little inside baseball stuff. I've actually traveled to some race markets early, and that's one of my targets next year, to get down there early, just to get down there and spend a little time in the Keys, and then come up and watch the race.
You're 30 to 45 minutes from Miami. You're right off the Keys. Tons of stuff around there. Just a great area, a great racetrack.
Yeah,
go.
Absolutely. A couple of attaboys, Billy Scott and Tyler Reddick. Tyler Reddick, that last turn, 3 and 4, that was just impressive. That is one of those career-defining moments when Tyler Reddick's career is over. If there's induction into the Hall of Fame, if there's just a wonderful ceremony at the end of the season, that's going to be one of the highlight videos that they show.
Well, if he ends up winning at Phoenix, then that's the move that got him there, right?
Yeah.
Billy Scott, what a great move. They weren't in a position to win. They led a lot of laps early, but they kind of had fallen off of that, lost track position. They had a tough day on pit road. Billy made the call and left him out there long. And they went as long as they could till they had to stop for fuel. Stopped, got tires, cycled out right there on the tail of the lead lap, and a caution comes out because Kyle Larson makes a gutsy move that doesn't work out. So Billy Scott with Alter strategy paid off for him. Caution came at the right time. What a great move by Tyler. I'm not sure where everybody was. Everybody came with 7-8 laps to go. I don't know if they pumped tires up and they lost a little grip. Tyler already had his race set on, so I don't know that. It worked out. He looked like a hero making the move up top.
Unreal. Good stuff. The conventional wisdom in the NASCAR Xfinity Series, you take Austin Hill and Andy Street and you put them on a super speedway and they are money. You put them on Homestead and they are money. So much so, in fact, Austin Hill was just literally, I don't know that I've ever heard a driver sob in a race car so much with happiness. What a win for Andy Street and for Austin Hill.
Yeah, definitely for Andy Street and Austin. And their car was particularly noticeably different. They could run the bottom. He got on the bottom. Usually you see the guys that can run the bottom for 6, 7, 8 laps, and then everybody migrates up towards the wall using the banking, the progressive banking to help them. They wrapped the bottom all day long and won both stages, won the race. Their ability to run a lane that was different than everybody else, it allowed them to capitalize, and their long run speed was really good.
They're racing for the championship at Phoenix, and Grant Enfinger and Jeff Stankiewicz, where have they been all year? We get to the round of 8 and they're 2 for 2. That is such a great story.
Keeps the pressure on all 7 other of the competitors. They're the only ones that can look forward to Phoenix, and they're continuing to do that. What a great run there. Great
run, that is for sure, and it sets us up for Martinsville this weekend. One of the teams that's going to be a big player in the Xfinity 500 is Team Penske. Travis Geisler, the NASCAR competition director, he joins us next. Welcome back. It is Crew Call here on the Motor Racing Network. Let's do it. Let's go to Team Penske. The NASCAR competition director, Travis Geisler, joins us. Hello, Travis. How are you?
I'm doing great. How are you doing today?
We are doing well. Travis, first and foremost, big picture. We'll talk about Team Penske. We'll talk about everything. But Todd and I are just raving about Homestead Miami Speedway. Are you in the camp of raving about Homestead Miami Speedway as well? What's your take on that racetrack?
I think everything's perfect about it. If you can make it a 266-lap race, I'm there.
I like it.
That is a fantastic place to go race, though. I mean, it certainly is. It lives up to the billing. I think this car, that combination right now is one of the best, most exciting races that we put on. And I think anybody that wasn't a fan of that race on Sunday just isn't a fan of racing, and I think certainly going back through the years, you can think about some races there, some of the championship races that were just phenomenal, and you watch guys that go from the back to the front, and that's really what you want out of a racetrack, is to be able to recover, be able to get yourself back in the right spot. And you watch it with the 5 car this past weekend. They were able to get themselves back up there in some bit of a miracle fashion, to be honest. But the track allows that, and that's really what I like about a track that's this late in the playoffs. You need somewhere where you can control your destiny and recover from some small little thing, and that place definitely allows it.
Yeah, you talked about you wish it was 266 laps. I thought you had the second win. Last 3 laps had 3 different leaders. I think Denny was leading with 2 to go. Ryan led with 1 to go, and Tyler Reddick made a heck of a move there. It's tough. You talk about this racetrack, but as you watch it, there's not one groove around this place. And for Blaney to be able to, the run that Tyler had, but Blaney, it's tough to block. You can't block everything as you come to that. What's the takeaway from the 12 team? I'm sure there's disappointed in it, but you have to feel good about the pace you've had coming to a good racetrack.
Yeah, I think that's the thing about the 12 here through the playoffs that you just have to kind of keep coming back to. Obviously, some of the finishes have not been there. A lot of it's kind of not been of their doing, just crazy situational things that have happened. The puncture at Vegas is one that'll haunt you. I think you had a flat tire at Vegas once that haunted you coming to the checkered, which was later in the game. I remember that one clearly too. But, it's just the way it goes, and that's why the playoffs are so hard. I think you look at the 12 team in general, what showed up at Homestead for the race was exactly what you would ask out of any team that you could send to a racetrack. I mean, they executed on pit road, honestly, better than we've really ever been on pit road. And that was a huge moment for that team to step up and be there when we needed them, and they certainly were. And then you look at Ryan's performance. I mean, we had some restarts that were kind of questionable, maybe got jumbled up a little, and he just was tenacious and got it back. And that's what you ask for. And, at the end of the day, the result was a little short of what we needed, but the effort was all there. And I think the ability of that team to rise to the occasion was on display.
Yeah, and I texted with your pit coach, Ray Gallahan, about that one. Slowest stop for the 12 team all day was a 10 flat on what we take care of. That's incredible. All in the 9s. That team's definitely elevated and put their day together. As you look at it, you've got Joey through. First race of this round, you got him through. I always looked at it like I like to be that guy because we could look forward. But now you kind of have a split focus. You've got to look at what the 12 can do for Martinsville, but are you still looking forward with the 22 to a little bit? Got that eye looking forward to Phoenix?
Yeah, I mean, there's obviously a little bit of a split focus within the company, but I think that the 22 team has one focus. I think you know how that group likes to prepare for this one. And when you look at Joey's history of his championships, it's typically come from an early final round win. And I think that's really, you look past Daytona and Indy and some of those wins throughout the year that are just the marquee events that you really want to accomplish. Winning the first race of the final round of the playoffs is just, man, it puts you in such a different mindset. And, you look at some of the teams right now that are kind of on, the 5 car being out 7 points. Nobody would have dreamt that going into this final round, including those guys. And there's no reason for them to think that they were going to be in this box, but that's why you just have to win, and it's, I don't know who is writing a script, but man, it's unbelievable how this goes, with the 45 and 22 kind of out and down and out after the Roval, all of a sudden we got some life breathed back in the teams and they go pull off, back-to-back wins. It's just, it's remarkable what this sport does. And when you get down to the final 8 best cars, anything can happen. Any of them can win. And we're just kind of seeing that on display.
Travis, I'm always interested in team dynamic, and Todd asked you about, Paul and the 22. They're obviously looking at Phoenix, and Jonathan and the 12. They're looking at Martinsville. Where does Brian Wilson fit into this? And that 2 car, where can they help? Where is it? Where do they need to tend to their own business? How does that balance of that third team work into this?
Yeah, I mean, they're definitely a supporting role right now. Whichever team needs some help or whatever they need to run to try to help the other teams learn, that's certainly kind of first goal. And then once that's kind of covered, or there's not a need for something, then obviously their goal was to try to get in the top 10 in points. That was an achievable goal for them. They were there. We've slipped on it a little bit, but it's still, something we're fighting for, at least get yourself in the top 12. Whatever it is, figure out what your goal is and go after it. And I think that these playoffs are such a difficult format, especially for younger drivers, younger teams. Their real goal through this playoffs is treat it like you're still in it. Treat it like that intensity is still there, so that when you are back here next year and you are trying to make a deeper run into the playoffs, you have that feeling. You've been there. You know that pressure. And I think that that's what we're gaining with that group right now is some experience. And I think the way they came out of the gates, man, their first 6 races were fantastic. If you take out getting wrecked from the lead at Talladega, they were really strong. And that's all you can ask for out of that group. I feel like they elevated their performance come playoff time, and they put themselves in a little different mindset, and we got to figure out how to keep that rolling.
Yeah, definitely. Brian and Austin they've matured into it.
Great combination.
Yeah, in this playoff, it's been a great run. We go forward to Martinsville. We have a new tire. The option tire we had earlier in the year is the right side tire, and I think there's a softer yet left side tire. What kind of things? How do you prepare for that?
Yeah, I mean, it's like we always say, the only thing that stays the same is change. So I think we're used to all the stuff moving around. And fortunately, we've had a few races now where we've had this kind of like really soft right side introduced. So we've had some time to kind of learn, okay, what are your balance offsets? What are some of those things that you have to go for? And, I think you talk about race strategy a little bit. How's the track going to rubber up? It's probably going to be significantly different than what we've seen. It's going to be a nice warm weekend in the 70s up there with a tire like that. You have to assume you're going to almost get back to the days of like the rubber strip, the worms. It's everybody's got a different term for it, but there's that rubber cushion that builds up. Okay, what do you need out of your balance of your car to be able to race when the track's like that versus what we've had? And your race strategy itself, I think you look back, we used to have those flip cautions because, some guys would stay out, some guys would pit. We've kind of led, like recently it's been just everybody stays out because you really didn't need tires. Okay, are we going to have enough fall off to start to get these flip cautions again where the whole field jumbles? You think back to some of the races, it was a battle from a strategy perspective to try to get that last cycle to the front. And if you're not on that cycle, you're in pretty deep, in deep trouble.
Yeah.
So, understanding all that and just kind of honestly remembering what that was all like because it hasn't been that way. Those are some of the things we've been talking about here.
Travis, we've had a couple instances this year where we've gone with softer tires or different tires. We talked about Bristol, and it turned off it was less than projected. Probably the same situation at Watkins Glen, a little bit less than what we thought it might be the case when all the cars get on the track and everything like that. How do you balance that when you look at the big picture setup going into this weekend?
Yeah, I think you have to look at, obviously had a wheel force test there, and you kind of get a gauge on, okay, how much rubber is the track taking, how much fall off do you see, those kind of things. And you just have to always turn it back a little bit. And I think we're starting to learn what that little bit is, because we went to the Watkins Glen test with Austin, and the fall off was incredible. I mean, it was like, holy cow, we're going to be short pitting everything and, all that stuff. And it's like, okay, wait a minute. Let's think back to Wilkesboro when the 22 ran the whole race on the option tire and really didn't have that much fall off. So let's think about what this means. And when you get 40 cars out there rubbering in a track as small as Martinsville, it's just inevitable that your tire wear is going to improve. So I think you definitely have to take it all with a little bit of a grain of salt and just the panic has to be brought back to just, it's an adjustment. It's not a world changer.
That's well put. That's very well put. I want to go a little bigger picture here. When we entered the summer, everybody said, what's wrong with the Fords? I mean, it was like on radio, you had panic about it. You guys have turned this around and become, very, very competitive. What went into that process of getting yourselves where you are today?
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like it's a broken record at this point. I think there's this like constant early season, where are all the Fords running and everything. And it's very difficult for me to understand exactly how it all works each year. I don't necessarily know what that is that happens that allows us to kind of get ourselves more competitive at this point in the year. I think that, there's a fair amount of kind of rule changes that happen throughout the year that maybe aren't published. I think there's some things there that happen, just the way that the ebb and flow of the garage and how NASCAR is looking at things and how they like to see things that does change the tone at times. I think there's a little bit of that. I think there's something with the schedule. There's certain tracks where we're definitely weaker than others, and we've started to turn that around a little bit. Our road course stuff has been more competitive, but it was so weak, the last couple of years that it was really when you look at your performances, it just drags you down, and those tend to happen kind of in that part of the season. So it's a tough one. I wish I could just keep this level of performance we have right now year round. It would make the playoffs a lot better for us, because typically we come in shorthanded on stage points, the playoff points that we just don't carry, like the 5 that has that in his pocket. So that's something we got to focus on making better. But I am proud of the fact that, we've won 2 of the playoff races. We're really close at getting one this past weekend. And I think Martinsville is a good opportunity for us.
Travis, my final question for you here is, I want to go even a little bit bigger picture, Penske philosophy, if you will. I had a crew chief, and it was around Talladega. Okay, so we understand team racing and everything. The crew chief told me, and he's a top tier crew chief, he told me, Team Penske, we all talk about being unselfish. But Team Penske, they actually live unselfish among the drivers and among the teams. And whether it's super speedway racing or whether it's going into a week like this with the split needs that you have up there, where is that philosophy? How do you keep that philosophy moving forward in a sport full of people that all want to be first?
Yeah, that's quite the challenge. I think it's a really unique sport where you have individual competitors that are reliant on a team atmosphere. The drivers are individuals out there. They are their own, most of them are independent contractors. They literally are their own company.
Yeah.
Legally. So how do you get them all to work together in one company? And I think that certainly Roger sets the tone for us. He sets the expectation of where that needs to be. And everybody here has the same opportunity for success all season long. We don't have a top team where we shuffle the best pit crew members and maybe the best little parts and pieces. And, we have a very methodical way of doling things out when there is a limitation on, hey, we only have 2 of these good ones. It's not a decision-making process. It's really just, okay, here's how we do this, and here's who's getting the parts. And there's really not a person that's doling it out and kind of like picking favorites. And I think that's a important thing from a mindset perspective. And then our drivers have just over time really developed their work ethic together. They all lean on each other. They all have different strengths. Ryan Blaney's strength is completely different than Joey's.
Yeah.
They both need each other.
Yep.
And Austin brings an entirely different angle to the equation that they've both learned to appreciate, as a rookie, helping them with some things because he's brought a different mindset. So I think when they can get something from each other that helps them, then they have some teamwork. And then when you got to do it on the racetrack, you have to go out there and show it. And then it starts to become real. Until you do it on the racetrack in a situation that matters, it just doesn't matter. It's all just us talking in meetings, which are a waste of time. So those guys have to go make it happen on track.
That's kind of what the crew chief said when I was talking to him, and it's a culture up there, and it's really impressive to see, that's for sure. Travis, we do appreciate the time. Thanks for taking some time out on a busy week, and we'll look forward to see what you guys have at Martinsville and on to Phoenix.
Yeah, sounds great. Thank you, guys. Have a good one.
There we go. Travis Geisler joining us here on Crew Call. Stay with us. More in just a moment. Welcome back. It is Crew Call here. If you like what we're doing, make sure you subscribe to our Motor Racing Network channel that you're listening to or watching, and share it with your friends. Tell them, man, did you hear what Travis Geisler said on Crew Call? It was some good stuff, that's for sure. It really was. That is for sure. I love Travis's story because Travis is a very, very smart engineer, Vanderbilt grad engineer. But his dad
He's a racer.
Dirt late model Hall of Famer with 200 wins. Travis had a bunch of wins running dirt late models in Western Pennsylvania. You take that racer engineering combination, and man, that is money.
Yeah, and he's such a great person too. I got to work for him for 10 years at Team Penske, and he was my boss, and just a quality person. I if he'd run for president, I'd vote for him. He's really good, and he's sharp. He understands it. He's got that balance of racer and technical knowledge and people person. So does a great job with it. Love what he's done over there, and just the guidance he had. Was a crew chief for Sam Hornish.
Yep.
And when I went to work there in 2011, that was when Travis kind of took over that competition director position. So cool to see. He's a quality person.
He has done a wonderful job there, that's for sure. This is his 14th season as the competition director up there. You don't go 14 years without doing some things right in this business.
Creates the culture. We talked about that unselfishness. Now you do have Roger that's almost like Dad. You don't want to disappoint Dad, so all the drivers get that for him. But I think Travis is that calming kind of vision for that whole piece. He really gets it. Does a great job of leadership here.
Okay, let's talk a little bit about Martinsville this weekend. First off, conditions. We'll talk about individuals and drivers and everything like that. Travis, I think, kind of broke it down, but there is a mystery going into this thing. And what's your take on what we're going to see? What's your guess?
Yeah, I would think that this place will take rubber. Yeah. And when this racetrack in Martinsville, we've complained about some Martinsville races. We had an April race that everybody just wanted to say shifting was a problem, that the new car. It wasn't. Our last fall race was pretty darn good. So, and it's the same racetrack, same car. Getting rubber late on this racetrack is a big deal. That April race was too cold. We never saw it rubber in, never saw it get wider up. When Travis talked about laying the strips and worms of rubber, this place can, when it's warm enough, and I think it will be this weekend, the right side tire lays rubber, and you'll see it actually cake up. And it'll get where there's a rubber piece there, and then you'll start to roll that rubber up, kind of like a fruit roll-up.
Right.
And it's just, and as that happens, you can't run over it anymore. So then you've either got to figure out how to run under it, right against the curb. Blaney does a great job of that. Or you start straddling it or working up the diamond and crossing it. So this place gets pretty racy when it gets rubber down. We've seen 2 and 3 wide racing, which is crazy to think that you can make a 3 wide pass at Martinsville. I've seen it done multiple times. So looking for this tire to lay enough rubber to force this into a really racy racetrack.
Optimistic, that's for sure. All right, when we look at the playoff standings here in the Cup Series, okay, Reddick, Logano were in. Bell, 29 points to the good. Yeah, don't let the wheels fall off this thing, and you'll be all right. Todd,
he's really 22 to the good.
22 to the good.
Because I'm gonna say there's gonna be a winner that's beyond it.
Beyond it. Okay, so that's
and then that moves it up where the 7 above the line for Byron becomes 7 below. Okay. But anyway, I still think Adam Stevens and Christopher Bell, they're going to race points. They're going to try to get stage points. They're going to try to get themselves where they don't have to worry about where the finish is.
Let's talk about the other 5 drivers: William Byron, Kyle Larson, Denny Hamlin, Ryan Blaney, Chase Elliott.
Yeah,
there are 5 champions or championship caliber drivers and teams, and likely 4 of them are not even going to run for the championship.
And I'm not sure, but I think all 5 of them have won at Martinsville.
Yes, I believe so. Blaney, Hamlin, Larson, Byron, Elliott. Yes, I think they have.
I think Byron's won there, right?
Yeah, Byron won there in the spring. Yeah, okay. Absolutely.
And who was racing their guts off last fall for this race? It was the 12 and the 11.
It's right.
Oh, and by the way, Chase Elliott's won there. And did you see the speed he had last weekend? Man, great momentum coming into this. There's nobody here that I can say, oh, well, don't worry about them. Yeah. All 5. I mean, Kyle Larson hated this place and went and won it here a year ago.
Yeah, a year ago, yeah.
So I just, this is going to be a great race. And I think it won't be decided until that black and white checkered flag flies at 500 laps or more, depending on what we have for overtimes.
Yeah, we're going to have that. We're going to have counting points and counting wins and everything else. It's just going to be insane. And really all weekend long. The trucks up there on Friday night, the Xfinity Series on Saturday. Our champion last year in the Xfinity Series was Cole Custer. He was sliding across the finish line at Martinsville backward last year to get locked into the round to go to Phoenix to win the championship.
Well, and Austin Hill had a great and ended up racing his teammate, and neither one of them made it through.
Yeah, raced themselves out of it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
they don't have to worry about that this year.
No, they are in good shape. That might be why that's probably why he was crying in the car. I'm fairly confident Andy was pretty happy with that as well. Andy Street is crew chief. It is going to be a great weekend up at Martinsville Speedway. We kick off the coverage on, I got the wrong notes here. Okay, we kick off the coverage Friday evening, 5:30. It is the Truck Series race up there. Saturday, I think we're looking at about a noon, 12:30 start for practice and qualifying. 3 o'clock in the afternoon, the Xfinity Series race. And then Sunday afternoon, 12:30 airtime for the Xfinity 500. So I cut and pasted, and I got
great weekend of racing.
Yes.
Great weekend of racing.
But I've got the Phoenix, or got the Homestead times if we need them.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
There you go.
It is. You can check Motor Racing Network, MRN.com for listings, and check with the local station as well. But yeah, it is going to be an epic weekend at Martinsville. And Martinsville is my favorite race of the year. The fall Martinsville race is my favorite race of the year. A lot of it is historical perspective. Mm-hmm. In 1949, the champion had to conquer Martinsville. And here we are in 2024, the champion will have to conquer Martinsville. Yes. I just love the history of that place. Get up there and have a couple hot dogs and be in good shape. That's for sure.
Yeah. Awesome. Phenomenal weekend.
Phenomenal weekend, that is for sure. We are grateful for Travis Geisler joining us here from up at Team Penske. He's Todd Gordon. I'm Steve Post. More important, though, than all of that, thank you for joining us here this time on Crew Call.